Hey everyone, my name is Prism, and welcome back to Prism's Media Spotlight, the channel where I will be spotlighting my love of movies and television. And in today's video, I'm starting a brand new video series entitled Tarnished in the Edit, the series where I will be taking you guys through some of the most troubled films from conception to release. Films that were heavily modified from the director's original vision, with films like Justice League and Blade Runner immediately coming to mind. Now, I won't cover every single film, there's way too many, and a lot of them are way too graphic for me to even want to touch on, or too minor to even bother with, but there are some very big, prominent examples in many different genres of films that were heavily modified from the original vision. Case in point, today's episode on 1995's Batman Forever, which is receiving its 30th anniversary on June 16th. Now, Batman Forever on the surface may look like a generally fine film. That's how audiences saw it back in 1995, with the film making over $300 million in comparison to Batman Returns, which was way too dark for its audience. While people still praised the film for its direction, Batman Returns was heavily criticized by families and by corporations because it was way too grim. It was way too dark. There was a lot of overly sexual content. There was just a lot of violence, grim narrative, grim details. It was just not what people expected from Batman. And I don't fully understand it, but I do agree that Batman Returns took the PG-13 rating to a very almost borderline R with some points. It's a very dark film. And so Warner Brothers wanted to push away from that angle, believing that it was tarnishing the box office, and it was upsetting people, and obviously they wanted to ensure profits. So Joel Schumacher was brought in, director of The Lost Boys, amongst some other cult classics, and he was ordered to deliver a third Batman film. Michael Keaton was out, Val Kilmer was in, and it was time for a brand new story. Now that sounds all well and good. I mean, you're trying to make a different film, and it obviously worked. It was a pretty well-received film. It wasn't perfect, but it definitely brought in the younger audience, and it also had the darker edge to it. I would say that Batman Forever is probably the most sexual with its humor, so there is that negative. But then at the same time, it also did try and play to the younger kids with its comedy and things like that. So I think Batman Forever was meant to kind of be like towing the line a little bit. Can we go grim, or can we also go comedic? Can we do a little bit of both? And we see how going one way on the dark side is too much, but also going one way on the light side is too much with Batman and Robin 2 years later. Now, that should be the whole story. Batman Forever released, Batman and Robin flopped, and we closed the chapter of that saga of the Batman films. Well, that's what Warner Brothers did. But you see, there's one tale they will not tell. Joel Schumacher's original cut of Batman Forever was longer and darker. Now, what is exactly the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever? I mean, what is this? Well, the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever is basically this. Joel Schumacher was ordered to create a more family-friendly Batman film than Batman Returns. They thought he could add his comedic edge to it and make it a lot more family-friendly. The cut he delivered to the execs was with more humor and a more family-friendly tone, but it also had a big dark edge to it. The opening scene is almost like a horror movie, with the Arkham Asylum reveal that Two-Face has escaped, but also the entire psychological study of Bruce Wayne. The whole film is really about him learning why he became Batman. He's been feeling all this guilt that he was responsible for his parents' death, that he made them go to the movies that night, and if they hadn't gone, they wouldn't have been killed. And the climax is when he finally faces his fear, and he realizes that it was not his fault. His parents wanted to go to a movie anyways, and they didn't take him to the one he wanted to go to. And we get this beautifully paid off with the giant bat scene, where it's just this big anamorphic human-sized bat, and Bruce stretches out his arms to meet the wingspan of the bat to show that he has become Batman, that he has accepted his destiny. And it's really cool. This was done by Rick Baker. It's amazing. Yes, the scene has its, studio audio. Like, it is very clear the scene was unfinished. But it's still really cool. It still looks really good. Like, this has been used in fan edits, but I'm sure if Warner Brothers did do a restoration, they would fix it up quite a bit. But also another thing in the Schumacher cut that has been found through the Kevin Smith screenings is that a lot of Two-Face's and the Riddler's lines were redubbed. They were done more over the top, more comedic, more just, like, electric, more just comical is the word I'm trying to say. Warner Brothers wanted him to make the film almost feel like a family-friendly, kids-friendly movie. Obviously it isn't. There are very dark elements in the film, but they basically said, hey, make it like 1989's Batman. That was basically the assignment. Now, I don't have that word for word, and I haven't heard that they said that, but if you, look at reviews of the Schumacher cut from the Kevin Smith screening, people have said that it feels like 1989's Batman and not like 1992's Batman Returns, so that's a very clear distinction. Batman 1989 did have its dark elements, but Batman Returns elevated it way too high, and it got way too grim and dark. And all these things aren't going to fix the movie 100%. You're still going to have issues. Some people have issues with Val Kilmer's performance. You're going to get more of that here. You're going to get more of Val Kilmer. Some people have issues with the comedy. Well, you're still going to have a lot of that comedy in here. In fact, maybe a little bit more or a little bit less. It's uncertain how much was added or trimmed, but this doesn't fix everything. This isn't like the perfect version of Batman Forever. And in terms of the fan edit community, I'm sure there would still be fan edits of it to try and get it to be a more appropriate Batman film, a more grim tone. Like, let's be clear. Batman and Robin is Joel Schumacher off-lease, basically. It's basically him saying, fine, you want a toy movie? I'll make a toy movie. Not my quote, that is someone else's. But that's what Batman and Robin is. And you get the little bits of that in Batman Forever. You get him starting to, walk that path. But what the Schumacher cut really does is it balances it out. But I first want to get back to how this all came to be. So, basically, Joel Schumacher screened a cut of the film in 1994. Studio was not happy with it. For years and years, people have been wondering if there is a director's cut. There have been rumors. And then in the 2020s, I think actually 2020, it comes out that, yes, there is a different cut of the film. It does exist. And so, like any movie news rumor or outlet post, you have to make sure it's an actual fact. And it continued when Kevin Smith actually screened the work print of the film. I'm not kidding. He had a private screening of the work print of Batman Forever. And then a few weeks ago, it was set for a private screening in LA to a club of movie fans at a specific location. And then Warner Brothers sent them a cease and desist, because the event got way too publicized and Warner Brothers just wanted to shut it down. So now we know the director's cut exists. We know why it exists, because Warner Brothers wanted something different. They didn't want a repeat of Batman Returns. They were fearful that if the film was too dark, it would push away the audiences they were so trying to get a hold of for the box office. And also it would ruin all the McDonald's tie-ins and everything like that. Now, of course, there is the question, what's the point of releasing this as a director's cut? Like, would anyone care? I think people would. I mean, even the screenwriter, the one who did rewrites on the film, has said that he's seen it and it's darker. Val Kilmer and Joel Schumacher have both passed away, but you could do this almost in their honor. I mean, you could also do it for the 30th anniversary, and I think audiences would be really, really happy. Audiences would feel listened to and heard if they could just go ahead and push the release button. Unfortunately, the truth is, though, it isn't that simple. because, like the Snyder Cut, it's going to require quite a bit of work. Because I think we should define something about the Joel Schumacher cut of Batman Forever, and that's this. The work print in 1994 is not the Schumacher cut entirely. That version of the film had temp music, probably temp visual effects, and probably temp editing and other things like that, temp dialogue, etc., etc. The idea of a work print, when you put it in a test screening, is to get audience feedback. And when you give it to a studio, it's meant to get their feedback. But it's a work print. And in fact, it's very different. If you look at some of the animated features for Disney and their work prints, they have totally unfinished animated sequences with sketch images and things like that. The whole point is that they aren't ready, and they were never meant to be ready, because they're just meant to be a work print of the film they are working on. And so I am sure that if Joel Schumacher got to finish the film, there would have definitely been work on visual effects and music and things like that. But because it was never finished, we're left with the material in the raw state, and we're left with a lack of a clear idea of everything that was going to transpire in the Schumacher cut. There have been multiple online articles about what was going to be in it, or what was in the work print screening, but we'll never fully know it until we can get a copy of the final edit. And unfortunately, the final edit is the one that was delivered to Warner Brothers that went into theaters summer of 1995. But, let's say they went ahead and they decided to try and make a director's cut. Or maybe just not call it that, but maybe they call it like the 30th anniversary remaster. Because why not? They've released the 3-hour version of Superman, Richard Donner cut of Superman 2. I mean, what is the big deal with releasing the Schumacher cut? Because, in all honesty, I don't think it would be that big of a hassle. And I'm saying this from an outside viewer because I don't know the money that goes into these kinds of things. The Snyder Cut cost over $70 million. $70 million wasted, I might add. Because while I do like the movie, it did not make $70 million for HBO Max. But I think it's different with Batman Forever because a lot of the footage is in a watchable state. It's really just the audio that needs work and some touch-ups to the visuals and things like that, but they're not going to have to go ahead and reshoot the entire film or, re-edit everything. Yes, it'll be work, but frankly, the footage of the Batman Forever work print is probably in better shape than the footage of the Snyder Cut work print, because you had to add in green screen and everything like that. So, do I think physically that Warner Brothers could make a decision to release the director's cut? Yes. Do I think they will? No. I don't... It's difficult to say what their reason is for not releasing it, but I think you could put it this way. There's no reason to for them. Maybe if people can get it trending enough, maybe Warner Brothers will be pressured to then. But remember, they had to do this for years with the Snyder Cut. And that's a movie from 2021, or 2017, rather. That's a lot more recent than a Batman film that is generally looked down upon as the start of the downfall of Batman. However, I do think it would be a really good idea to release the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever. I think that while it might not be the most financially successful initiative, I think a lot of people would appreciate it, and there would be some amount of profit from it. You could do this in honor of Joel Schumacher and Val Kilmer, both which passed away in the 2020s, but you could also do it to honor the film's 30th anniversary and honor the fan base who has come to love the movie. The fact is that it would honestly be a lot more financially logical than the Snyder Cut of Justice League, and they were willing to do that for $70 million. They shot new footage, they had to finish visual effects, they had to score new scenes. There was a lot that had to be done for the Snyder Cut of Justice League, where if it comes to the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever, you have a lot of it done. You have the visuals mostly complete, apart from any, scenes that we haven't seen yet. You have the music throughout the film, apart from these deleted scenes, obviously. And you do have the scriptwriter who could probably give a good idea of what Joel Schumacher actually wanted to do with the film. Which I think is the hardest part of all this, because Joel Schumacher did pass away in 2020, so it would be very hard to actually go ahead and make his so-called director's cut. But I think you could still make a version that's very similar to it, or at the very least call it the extended edition. And you know what, frankly, I think if you even did it not in 4K quality, but like in 1080p Blu-ray, I think you'd still have people that would watch it. I mean, there's the director's cut of Supergirl, there's the 3-hour cut of Superman. Are these always 4K remastered? No. But people do appreciate having the option to watch them. And as long as it's clear that Warner Brothers did spend some time and effort to make it presentable, I don't think it needs to be the highest quality thing ever made. Frankly, how I would want to do it is you say, okay, we're going to finish the film, you put in all the deleted scenes, you check the script, and you put it, say, in 1080p quality. And then you release it on HBO Max, and like the Snyder Cut, after a few months, you release it on physical media. So you get some HBO Max subscribers, and then you have some people who will buy it on physical. Or you could just go straight to physical and HBO Max at the same time. But the point is this. I think there is an audience for this. I think there are people that really want to see the Schumacher cut. I think there are people that would definitely watch it if they saw the option. And, I mean, if you look at the fan edit community, there have been a lot of fan edits trying to restore Batman Forever. Now, I don't know if the Schumacher cut would be the Kevin Smith copy that people have seen, because that was a 1994 screening and they did have to finish shooting. But I do think it would be something like that. I would hope so. And I think the weirdest part would be the music, because obviously, you know, people who have seen the Kevin Smith screening have said that the music really was what changed the movie, and it was a lot of temp music. Obviously, Warner Brothers aren't going to put in temp music. They're obviously going to want to stick to the original score. But it would be nice if they, say, brought on Danny Elfman or something to do a score like the other two films. But, I mean, overall, in conclusion, I say release the Schumacher cut. I wholeheartedly think it is a great idea. I do think there would be some financial, stuff that they'd have to take care of, and maybe it's not the best idea for that reason. But, I mean, even if we could get, this in, like, DVD quality, or, like I said, the best would be Blu-ray quality, I would really appreciate it. There's an audience for this. There's people who want to see this. I don't know why Warner Brothers wouldn't do it for the 30th anniversary. I think it would be really cool. But that's my thoughts on the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever. I will leave links to some fan edits that actually try and complete the vision of Joel Schumacher. But thank you all, and bye for now!